I met Sarah on a Tuesday. Not through an app at a coffee shop, like people used to. She was reading a book with a coffee-stained cover, and when our eyes met, she smiled like she'd been expecting me. I know how that sounds. Like something from a romance novel, but that's exactly how it felt. I sat down 2 tables away, pretending to work on my laptop while sneaking glances. After 20 minutes, she walked over and said, "You're not actually working. Your screen's been on the same page this whole time." I laughed, caught, guilty. "I'm Tom. Sarah," she said, extending her hand. Her grip was firm, confident. We talked for 3 hours straight. The barista had to kick us out at closing. We exchanged numbers in the parking lot under flickering streetlights. As she drove away, I remember thinking this was the beginning of something important. I had no idea how right I was, or how wrong everything would go. That first night, she texted me, "Thanks for making my Tuesday less ordinary." 3 months later, I thought I knew her. The way she took her coffee oat milk, no sugar, extra hot. How she'd trace patterns on my palm while we talked, like she was reading my fortune. The small scar above her left eyebrow from a childhood accident she'd never fully explained. How she'd go quiet sometimes, staring at nothing, lost in thoughts she wouldn't share. I told myself everyone has secrets, private corners of their past they keep locked away. I didn't push. I should have pushed. She worked as a graphic designer from home, freelance. She had a sister in Seattle she talked to every Sunday. Her parents died in a car accident when she was 19. She loved Thai food, hated horror movies, and had a laugh that could light up the darkest room. She read mystery novels obsessively, the darker, the better. "I like figuring out the twist before the author reveals it," she told me once. I joked that she was too smart for her own good. She didn't laugh at that. We fell into an easy rhythm. Friday nights at this little Italian place on Maple Street. Saturday mornings at the farmer's market. Lazy Sundays where we'd stay in bed until noon, talking about everything and nothing. I was falling in love. No, I had fallen. Completely. I started looking at rings online, imagining a future. A house with a yard for the dog we'd get. Kids, maybe. Growing old together. All the cliches that don't feel like cliches when you're living them. Then came the message. It was a Wednesday. I was at work, in the middle of a meeting I wasn't paying attention to. My phone buzzed. "Sarah, I need to tell you something. Meet me at our place, 8 p.m. This changes everything." Our place, the bench in Bennett Park, where we'd had our first kiss. My stomach dropped. This changes everything. That phrase echoed in my head for the rest of the day. Was she pregnant? Sick? Moving away? Or, and this was the thought I kept pushing down, was she ending it? I arrived at 7:30. Early, like always. The park was quiet. Autumn leaves scattered across the path. Our bench sat under an old oak tree, carved with initials from decades of other couples. We joked about adding ours, but never did. "Too cheesy," Sarah had said. Now I wished we had. Some permanent mark that we'd existed together. I sat down and waited. 8 o'clock came and went. 8:15. 8:30. I called. Straight to voicemail. Texted. No response. By 9 o'clock, I was scared. I drove to her apartment. All the lights were off. I had a key. She'd given it to me last month. A small step that had felt enormous. I let myself in, calling her name. Nothing. The apartment felt wrong. Not ransacked or destroyed, just ... empty. Her laptop was gone. Her favorite jacket wasn't on its usual hook. But her plants were still there. Her books, her furniture. Mail was piling up on the counter 3 days' worth. Where had she been? Where was she now? I called her sister, Melissa. "Have you heard from Sarah?" I tried to keep my voice steady. There was a pause. "Who is this?" Melissa asked. "Tom, her boyfriend. We've been together for 3 months. Another pause, longer this time. Sarah doesn't have a boyfriend, and I don't have a sister named Sarah. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, my brain refusing to process what I'd just heard. That wasn't possible. I'd heard Sarah talk to Melissa every Sunday. I went to the police the next morning. The detective, a tired-looking man named Marcus Reeves, listened to my story with barely concealed skepticism. Adults have the right to disappear, he said, unless there's evidence of foul play, ... She left me a message. I interrupted. Said she needed to tell me something, then vanished. He took down the information, but I could tell he thought I was just another guy who got dumped. We'll look into it, he said without conviction. I became obsessed. I reread every text message, studied every photo we'd taken together. I made timelines, lists of everything she'd told me about herself, looking for inconsistencies, looking for clues. I stopped going to work, stopped sleeping properly. My friends said I needed to let it go, move on. But they hadn't seen her smile, hadn't felt the way she fit perfectly against me when we slept, hadn't loved her. They didn't understand. I couldn't let go until I knew the truth. That's when I noticed it. A photo from 2 weeks ago, a selfie she'd sent me, making a silly face. I'd looked at it 100 times. But this time, I zoomed in on the background, her apartment window, and in the reflection, barely visible a silhouette. A man's figure, standing outside on the street, looking up at her window. I enhanced the image as much as I could. Couldn't make out features, but something about the posture was wrong. Predatory. He was watching her. I dug deeper, searching online for anything connected to Sarah's name. That's when I found the True Crime Forum. A user with the handle BookGirl88, Sarah's username on her reading app, posted 3 months ago, right before we met. Question about witness protection. If someone testified against a dangerous person, would they get a new identity? What if that person got released from prison? Would the witness be notified? My blood ran cold. I went down the rabbit hole. Read every post from BookGirl88. She was terrified of someone, asking about changing identities, about disappearing completely, about how to know if you're being followed. The timeline fit perfectly. I searched for trials involving dangerous stalkers from 7 years ago. Found dozens. But one stood out. The State versus Michael Chun. Convicted of aggravated stalking, attempted kidnapping, assault. The victim who testified, Rebecca Chun, his ex-girlfriend. Rebecca Chun, 28 years old. Graphic designer. The article included an old photo, and it was her. It was Sarah. Same eyes, same smile, same scar above her eyebrow. The article said Michael had been obsessed with her, convinced they were meant to be together. He'd broken into her apartment, tracked her every movement, sent threatening letters. She'd gotten a restraining order. He'd violated it repeatedly. Finally, an attempted kidnapping. She'd barely escaped. Michael Chun was sentenced to 7 years. I calculated dates with shaking hands. He would have been released 3 months ago, exactly when Sarah and I met, exactly when she started posting on that forum, exactly when someone started watching her from the street. She'd known he was coming for her. She'd been preparing. And I'd been completely oblivious, falling in love while she was planning her escape. Or maybe ... Maybe that's why she'd let me in. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. My heart stopped. I answered. Tom, her voice. Sarah's voice. I couldn't breathe. Sarah, where are you? Are you okay? Stop looking, she said quietly. Please, I'm safe. He found me, but I'm handling it. You were real. All of it was real. But I can't let you be part of this. Part of what? I demanded. Let me help you. We can go to the police. The police can't help me. she interrupted. He's too smart, too patient. And let me help, I said desperately. I love you. We can figure this out together. There was silence. When she spoke again, her voice cracked. I love you too. That's why you have to let me go. If he knows about you, he'll use you to get to me. I won't let that happen. Forget the coffee shop. Forget the bench. Forget me. I can't, I whispered. You have to, she said, and the line went dead. I tried calling back. The number was disconnected. I tried to trace the call. Got nowhere. Called Detective Reeves back. Told him everything Rebecca Chun, Michael Chun, the witness testimony, the stalking. He went quiet. Stay out of this, Tom, he finally said. Rebecca is being handled by people who know what they're doing. What people? Where is she? I can't tell you that, but she's safe. And you need to let it go, for your safety and hers. He hung up before I could argue. I was shut out completely. Weeks passed. Then months. I went back to work, went through the motions of normal life. But I wasn't okay. How could I be? The woman I loved was out there somewhere, running from a monster. And I couldn't do anything about it. I checked the news obsessively for any mention of Michael Chun or Rebecca Chun. Nothing. It was like they'd both vanished into thin air. I joined that true crime forum under a fake name, hoping Gookgirl88 would post again. She never did. 6 months after she disappeared, I still went to that coffee shop every Tuesday. Same table where I'd first seen her. I told myself I wasn't waiting for her, that I was just a creature of habit. But that was a lie. I was waiting. Every time the door opened, my heart jumped. Every dark-haired woman made me look twice. I was living in limbo, unable to move forward, unable to go back. My friends stopped asking about her. They thought I was being pathetic. Maybe I was. Then it was a year. A full year since that Tuesday in the coffee shop. A full year since she'd walked over and called me out for not working. I sat at our table, drinking coffee that had gone cold, wondering if I'd imagined the whole thing. If love could make you delusional enough to create an entire relationship in your head. But I had the photos, the texts, the key to an apartment that now belonged to someone else. It had been real. She had been real. I was about to leave when I noticed it. A book on the table. Coffee-stained cover. The same book she'd been reading that first Tuesday. My hands trembled as I picked it up. It could be a coincidence. People spill coffee on books all the time. But when I opened the front cover, I saw it. Handwriting I'd memorized from grocery lists and post-it notes and birthday cards. When it's safe, I promise. I looked around wildly. She'd been here, recently. I asked the barista if she'd seen who left the book. She shrugged. Lots of people in and out today. I sat back down, clutching the book like a lifeline. She was alive. She was thinking about me. She'd come to our place, left me a message. When it's safe, that meant she was still running, still hiding. But she'd promised. I believed her. I had to. I started going to the coffee shop every day. Not just Tuesdays. Every single day. Watching, waiting, hoping for another sign. Weeks passed with nothing. Then one Tuesday, it was always Tuesdays, I found another book. Different title, same coffee-stained cover. Inside, he's gone, but I'm not ready. Soon. He's gone. Michael Chun was gone. Dead? Arrested? Disappeared? I didn't know. But the threat was over. So why wasn't she coming back? I wanted to be patient, but the uncertainty was killing me. How much longer? How many more coffee-stained books and cryptic messages? I hired a private investigator. Gave her everything, the names, the case files, the timeline. She came back 2 weeks later, looking troubled. Michael Chun is dead, she said. Car accident 3 months ago. Single vehicle collision on a mountain road. 3 months ago. Right when the first book appeared. And Rebecca? I asked. The investigator shook her head. No records. If she's using a new identity, it's a good one. Professional. She doesn't want to be found. But she'd left me messages. She wanted me to wait. So I waited. Another month. Another book. I'm scared. Just that. 2 words that broke my heart. The threat was gone, but the trauma remained. She'd spent a year running, hiding, looking over her shoulder. That doesn't go away just because the monster dies. I understood. I wrote in the book's margin, "Take your time. I'm here." Left it on the table the next day, hoping she'd come back to check. A week later, the book was gone. In its place, a new one. Thank you for waiting. Thank you for not giving up on me. I'm healing. I'm learning to feel safe again. I see a therapist now. I'm Rebecca again, not Sarah. It's strange, remembering who I used to be. The person you met was half real, half someone I invented to hide. I want you to know the real me, but I'm scared you won't love her. My eyes burned. I wrote back, "I'll love every version of you." The books became our communication. Once a week, sometimes twice. She told me about her therapy, about confronting the trauma she'd buried, about how she'd met me during the worst time of her life and hadn't meant to fall in love, about the guilt she felt for lying to me. I told her about the months after she left, about refusing to give up, about how I'd save every text message and still wore the hoodie she'd left at my apartment because it smelled like her. "I'm ready to see you," she wrote one day. My heart stopped, but not as Tom and Sarah, as Tom and Rebecca. Fresh start. I wrote back immediately. Anywhere, anytime. The next book, same place we met. Next Tuesday, 3 p.m. I'll be reading a book with a coffee-stained cover. You should come accidentally, sit too close, and pretend to work on your laptop. I laughed for the first time in months. She remembered. Of course she remembered. That Tuesday took forever to arrive. I got to the coffee shop an hour early, too anxious to wait at home. I ordered coffee I didn't drink and stared at the door. At 2:55, I forced myself to look at my laptop, trying to recreate that first Tuesday. At 3 o'clock exactly, the door opened. And there she was, different hair shorter, lighter, different clothes softer, less guarded, but same eyes, same smile, same scar above her eyebrow. She sat at the corner table with a book. I waited 20 minutes, just like last time, then walked over. "You're not actually reading," I said. "Your eyes aren't moving across the page." She looked up and smiled. Guilty. "I'm Rebecca." She extended her hand. I took it, and it felt like coming home. "Tom," I said, even though she knew. Even though we'd been writing to each other for months. We were starting over, but we were also continuing. A paradox that somehow made perfect sense. We talked for hours. Really talked, without secrets this time. She told me about growing up as Rebecca, about Michael's escalating obsession, about the trial, about choosing to disappear instead of living in constant fear, about becoming Sarah, a name she'd always liked, a fresh identity, about meeting me and realizing she couldn't fully let anyone in while living a lie. "I wanted to tell you so many times," she said, "but I was terrified of putting you in danger." "I would have helped," I said. "I know," she replied, "but I couldn't risk it. He was too dangerous, too unpredictable. And you? You were too important. The only good thing in my life at that time. I couldn't bear the thought of him hurting you because of me." She reached across the table and took my hand. "I'm sorry I left. I'm sorry I disappeared without explanation. I'm sorry I put you through hell. I'm sorry you had to go through it at all," I said. We started dating again, slowly this time. getting to know each other without the shadow of danger hanging over us. She was different, as Rebecca more open, more relaxed. The wariness in her eyes gradually faded. She laughed more easily, slept better, started making plans for the future instead of constantly looking over her shoulder. We had date nights without her scanning the restaurant for exits. We took photos without her worrying about being found. 6 months later, I proposed. Same bench in Bennett Park where I'd waited for her that terrible night, where everything had fallen apart. I wanted to remake that memory into something beautiful. She cried when she said yes. I never thought I'd get this, she said. Normal life. Love, a future. I thought Michael took all of that from me. He didn't, I told her. You survived. You got away. You won. We won, she corrected. You waited for me. We got married on a Tuesday, of course. Small ceremony, just close friends and family. Rebecca's real sister came. Yes, she had a real sister, just not named Melissa. The lies she'd told to protect her identity had been elaborate and necessary. Detective Reeves came too, off duty. I'm glad it worked out, he said. I wanted to tell you she was okay, but I couldn't compromise her safety. I forgave him. How could I not? He'd been protecting the woman I loved. At the reception, someone asked how we met. Rebecca and I looked at each other. At a coffee shop, I said. On a Tuesday. He wasn't really working on his laptop, Rebecca added, just staring at me like a creep. Everyone laughed. It was the truth, but not the whole truth. The whole truth was too dark for a wedding reception. The whole truth involved stalkers and disappearances and a year of agonizing uncertainty. But that was behind us now. We bought a house together, adopted a dog named Tuesday, started the life I'd imagined during those 3 months before everything fell apart. But it was better now, built on truth instead of secrets. Rebecca still had hard days' anniversaries of traumatic events, nightmares about Michael. I learned to recognize the signs, to give her space or hold her close, depending on what she needed. Trauma doesn't disappear just because the threat does. She started a support group for stalking victims, used her experience to help others navigate the legal system, safety planning, and healing. She said it helped her process everything, turning her trauma into something useful. I was proud of her. The strength it took to not just survive, but to thrive, to help others. She was the bravest person I'd ever known. Sometimes she'd come home from a support group meeting, quiet and drained. I'd make tea, and we'd sit in silence. 2 years after we reunited, Rebecca found out she was pregnant. We were terrified and thrilled in equal measure. What if I can't do this? She asked. What if the trauma affects how I parent? You're going to be an amazing mom, I assured her. You survived hell and came out stronger. You'll teach our kid to be brave and kind and resilient. She cried, hormones and emotion mixing. I never thought I'd have this, she whispered. Normal, beautiful things. Our daughter was born on a Tuesday. We named her Hope. Rebecca held her and cried tears of joy and relief and healing. She's perfect, she kept saying. She's safe. We're safe. I took a photo of them together, my wife and daughter, bathed in golden afternoon light from the hospital window. Later, I printed it and put it on my desk at work. Sometimes I'd stare at it, marveling at the journey that led us here. From coffee shop to catastrophe to this. People sometimes ask if I ever regret it, loving someone with that kind of complicated past. The truth? Never. Not for a second. Yes, it was hard. Yes, there were moments of despair and uncertainty. But Rebecca was worth it. Love isn't always easy or simple. Sometimes it requires patience and faith and waiting in a coffee shop every Tuesday for a year. Sometimes it means loving someone through their healing, not just their happiness. I'd do it all again. We still go to that coffee shop every Tuesday. Rebecca reads books with coffee-stained covers. She does it on purpose now, a private joke between us. I pretend to work on my laptop. Our daughter sits between us, coloring. Sometimes I catch Rebecca watching me with this soft expression, like she still can't quite believe this is her life. I understand. Sometimes I can't believe it either. That we found each other, lost each other, found each other again. Last Tuesday, Hope asked why we always come to this coffee shop. Rebecca and I exchanged glances. This is where we met, I said. Where your mom called me out for pretending to work. Were you friends? Hope asked. Eventually, Rebecca said, smiling. After some complicated stuff. What kind of stuff? The kind I'll tell you about when you're older, Rebecca replied. The important part is we found each other. And we never let go, I added.